Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order. And welcome everyone. Welcome everyone on Sweater Day. This is February 2nd, when all municipality facilities will drop their heat by 3 degrees to help the planet. So we're doing our part this evening and enjoying some comfy sweater. I also want, before we begin, I wanted to apologize to those who were watching online at our last meeting. We had a little bit of an audio issue and we figured out some new features that were on our microphones that we weren't aware of. So we think we have sorted that out. So thank you for letting us know. And I think we're also putting in place some people on standby who will let us know during the meeting if there is an audio issue, that we'll try to fix it during the meeting instead of after. So thank you for that. So next on the agenda, then the disclosure of pecuniary interest. Deputy Mayor Widner.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Item D, quarter revision for the McIntyre drain.
So noted. Next is approval of our previous minutes. Any errors or omissions? Seeing none, can I have the resolution?
That the minutes of the regular meeting of the council held on January 19th, 2023 be adopted as printed and circulated.
Mover and seconder. Councillor Wilson, Leach, all in favor? Carried. Just need to make sure, Rick, that you wave at us with your vote. We'll make sure we.
I did. I waved.
With the vote. Yeah. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Not a problem.
Okay, our next item is the court of revision for the McIntyre drain. Go ahead.
That the council of the township of Malahide does hereby appoint the following members to sit on the court of revision for the W. McIntyre drain. Mayor Dominique Giguere, Councillor John H. Wilson, Councillor Sarah Leach.
So a mover and seconder. Wilson, Leach, all
I'll
in
move
favor? Carried.
That the court of revision for the W. McIntyre drain be called to order at 7:33 p.m. and that Dominique Giguere be appointed chair.
Mover and seconder. Wilson and Leach, all in favor? Carried. Now, do we move into this? Starting with this part here. Okay, so this is court of revision to has been brought to order, and I want to note that this meeting refers to the W. McIntyre drain. It's referring to the engineer report dated November 8th, 2022. And the engineer was George Varenkin from Spreet Associates. And is George with us to give us an overview and a brief outline of the proposed drainage works?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. So John Michael Street actually signed this report. He was unable to attend tonight, so I'm here on his behalf. Just wanted to clarify that first. Tonight is, I believe, the court of revision here. So there has been no appeals on cost to date that we've received. I don't believe we've been notified of anything being received from the municipality as well, which could be clarified. If there are no appeals, I would recommend that we accept the assessments as John has laid out within the report, which was to the single owner who needs this relocation to facilitate their barn construction.
Okay, thank you for that. Allison, can you confirm whether we've received any written comments or objections?
There have been no written comments or rejections received.
And is there anyone in attendance wishing to make any comments? Doesn't look like it. So I'll open it up for discussions with members of the Court of Revisions. Do you have any comments or questions? None? Allison?
That the Court of Revision members for the W. McIntyre Drain do hereby accept the recommendation of drainage engineer John M. Spreet and further does hereby confirm the drainage assessments as outlined in the report of the drainage engineer dated November 8th, 2022.
I have a mover and seconder. Wilson and Leach, all in favor? Carried.
That the Court of Revision relating to the W. McIntyre Drain be adjourned and the council meeting reconvene at 7:36 PM.
Mover and seconder. Wilson and Leach, all in favor? Carried.
Thank you, your worship.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is a public meeting for a rezoning. Can I have the resolution, Allison?
That the public meeting concerning the zoning bylaw amendment application number D14Z1722 of Performance Communities Reality Inc. and Shipper Farms Limited relating to the property located at concession NTR Part Lot 80 PCL 80-1 RP 11R2571 Parts 4, 5, and 6 concession north of Talbot Road be called to order at 7:37 PM.
Mover and seconder. Lewis and Wilson, all in favor? Carried. So I can advise that the purpose of this public meeting is to consider the application for change in zoning from general agricultural's A1 to a site-specific general agricultural to allow for the necessary parkland and stormwater management to support the overall development. The applicant's name is Joseph M. Hunt on behalf of James and Doreen McIntyre. Oh, I'm on the wrong one. Oh, so I didn't. Let me do that again. So this public meeting is, the purpose of this public meeting is to consider an application. Wait a minute. Yeah, okay, so this is the CJDL?
Yeah.
For Skipper Farm.
Yeah, that's great. Go ahead.
Okay. We'll sort this out. So the purpose of this public meeting is to consider an application for a change in zoning from general agricultural A1 to a site-specific general agricultural to allow for the necessary parkland and stormwater management to support the overall development. Is that right? And the applicant's name is CJDL Limited on behalf of Performance Communities Realty Inc. and Skipper Farms Limited.
Yep.
That's the one. So do we do an overview, or Allison, do you want to confirm first the advise and confirm the method and date of notice given for this meeting?
Yes, through your worship, notice of the meeting was given in the prescribed manner by publication in the Elmer Express on January 11th and January 18th. In addition, affected property owners within 120 meters were sent a notice by mail at minimum 20 days prior to the meeting.
Thank you. And we have Eric to give us an overview of the application and provide any comments.
Yes, thank you, your worship. So as you've noted, the purpose of this application is to rezone the property from general agriculture to a site-specific agricultural zone to permit parkland and stormwater management uses as part of a proposed subdivision development on adjacent lands in the town of Aylmer. The subject property is a landlocked parcel that is currently used for agricultural purposes and abuts the town of Aylmer settlement boundary to the east and south, and Carthage Creek and a water course to the north and west. The property is currently accessed through lands within the town of Aylmer that are proposed to be developed as part of a residential subdivision. Since the subject lands are physically separated from additional agricultural lands further to the west by Carthage Creek and the small stream, as well as being abutting to the town of Aylmer settlement boundary, the effectively be cut off, access would be cut off if the proposed subdivision is developed and will not continually be used for agricultural purposes. As a result, the owner is proposing to include the entirety of the subject lands within the subdivision for the purposes of parkland and stormwater management area uses. Considering that again, access being cut off, the utility of these lands for agriculture would be significantly reduced. Additionally, that the only development proposed on the parcel would be in the form of infrastructure for stormwater management, as well as recreational purposes through the parkland. No buildings or structures are proposed as part of this application. The subject lands are designated as significant woodlands under the county official plan, and development is not permitted within or adjacent to significant woodlands unless it's been demonstrated that there will be no negative impacts on environmental features. An environmental impact study was conducted for the subject lands and determined that there be no negative impacts of the proposed development on natural heritage features. Considering that these utilities lands would be significantly reduced if the subdivision is developed, as well as minimal development and actual site alteration is proposed on the parcel. The proposed zoning bylaw amendment is consistent with the policies of the provincial policy statement, county official plan, and Malahide official plan. It is noted that Schedule A of the proposed bylaw has been revised to include a portion of the subject lands that were excluded from the area proposed to be rezoned. At the time of the submission of this report, there were no comments received from agencies or members of the public, and staff are recommending that the zoning bylaw amendment be approved. That concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to take questions from members of council.
Thank you for that. Councillor Glinski.
This property, so
Can you repeat that with the microphone
I
on?
thought I had it on. This property, is it owned by Aylmer or is it owned by Malahide?
Adam, did you want to?
Yes, through you, your worship. It's not owned by either municipality. It's part of a subject property that's majority is located within the town of Aylmer. A small portion, which we're dealing with tonight, lies within the township of Malahide, but neither municipality owns the lands involved.
It's owned privately. Any other comments or questions? Deputy Mayor Widner?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I know we're being told this is landlocked, but there is the driveway clearly shown that services the property. So is that correct, or will that driveway be removed, or what's the deal there? Thank you.
Eric or Adam?
Through your worship, it's understanding that currently there's access proposed through lands within the town of Aylmer and then across the water course, and that the use of lands for agriculture wouldn't be available if the subdivision is developed. If the agent or applicant also could confirm that information.
Thank you, Eric. Through you, your worship. My name is Darren Lyle from Cyril the Mayor's engineering office. And yes, I can confirm what Eric said. When the subdivision developed, that driveway will no longer be accessible.
Deputy Mayor Widner?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. So they're going to be tearing out all the trees. That's why it's destroying the driveway? I thought that was kind of a condition too, so.
Through you, your worship. No, for the most part, the existing vegetation in the area will remain. That existing driveway that goes from the upper to the lower lands is proposed for a multi-use trail connection, a 3-meter wide asphalt path that will form an extension of the of the town's multi-use trail network. And then there's also infrastructure located within that, most specifically a storm sewer that services the subdivision that goes to the creek.
You okay? Yeah. Any other comments? And is there anyone else in attendance who wish to comment? Okay, not seeing or hearing anyone, so council members will take all comments received when making our final decision on the application. So for now, we'll go with the resolution then.
That the public meeting concerning the zoning bylaw amendment application number D14Z1722 of Performance Communities Realty, Inc. and Shipper Farms Limited relating to the property located at concession NTR Part Lot 80 PCL 80-1 RP 11R 2571 Parts 4, 5, and 6 concession north of Talbot Road be adjourned and council reconvene at 7:45 PM.
Mover and seconder. Wilson, Glinsky, all in favor? Carried. Okay, next we have another public meeting
We have
for,
to- So the next resolution is that report number DS 23-03 entitled zoning bylaw amendment application of Performance Communities Realty, Inc. and Shipper Farms Limited authorized agent Darren Lyle CJDL be received, and that the zoning bylaw amendment application number D14Z1722 of Performance Communities Realty, Inc. and Shipper Farms Limited relating to the property located at Performance Communities Realty, Inc. and Shipper Farms Limited be approved for the reasons set out in the report.
mover and seconder,
I'll move it.
Serna and Lewis, all in favor? Carried.
Where I scratched out the description.
Perfect. Okay, and then we'll move to the next public meeting, also for rezoning the resolution.
That the public meeting concerning the zoning bylaw amendment application number D14Z1922 of James and Doreen McIntyre relating to the property located at concession 8 North Part Lot 6 and known municipally as Part Lot 6 Concession 8 11R 6241 Part 2 be called to order at 7:47 PM.
Mover and seconder. Widner and Wilson, all in favor? Carried. Okay, so I can advise that the purpose of this public meeting is to consider an application to change a portion from A1 General Agricultural to Special Agricultural A2-12 with site-specific provisions. And the applicant's name is Joseph M. Hunt on behalf of James and Doreen McIntyre. Allison, can you advise and confirm the method and date of notice given for this meeting?
Yes, through you, your worship, notice of the meeting was given in the prescribed manner by publication in the Elmer Express on January 11th and January 18th. In addition, affected property owners within 120 meters were sent a notice by mail at minimum 20 days prior to the meeting.
Thank you. And Eric, can you provide an overview of this application, please?
Yes, thank you, your worship. So these lands were subject to a previous consent application in fall of 2022 to facilitate a lot addition to provide access to a landlocked agricultural parcel. The parcel was previously accessed across an abandoned rail corridor to the north. However, that access no longer became available to the owners. And so the proposed consent application allowed for the lot addition to create a new access to the parcel. As a condition of that approved consent application, the zoning bylaw amendment was required in order to permit a reduced lot frontage for an agricultural parcel, as well as prohibit the construction of a dwelling on the subject lands to mitigate future impacts of residential uses on the surrounding agricultural lands. As part of that, site-specific provisions would include a reduced lot frontage of 19.6 meters, where the bylaw would require a frontage of 150 meters. The provincial policy statement and the county and township official plans all permit lot adjustments for legal or technical reasons. In this case, being to provide access to a landlocked agricultural parcel. The application would limited or minimize the amount of land that's removed from production to provide the access, which is why reduced lot frontage was requested. No new building lot is proposed, and the application would support the viability of the farm parcel to continue to be used for agricultural purposes. Additionally, the prohibition of future residential development as well as related to that, since the agricultural parcel is sort of in the center of and surrounded by adjacent agricultural lands that potentially providing access that future residential uses may have impacts on those adjacent agricultural lands. No agency or public comments were received at the time of writing this report, and recommend the application be approved. That concludes the presentation. I'm happy to take questions from members of council.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from council? No? Is there anyone else on the call wishing to comment? Not seeing anyone. So once again, we'll consider all comments received when making our final decision on the application. So for now, we'll proceed with the resolution.
That the public meeting concerning the zoning bylaw amendment application number D14 Z19 2022, or sorry, just 22, of James and Doreen McIntyre relating to the property located at concession 8 North Part Lot 6 and known municipally as Part Lot 6 Concession 8 11R 6241 Part 2 be adjourned and the council reconvene at 7:51 PM.
Mover and seconder? Wilson, Leach, all in favor? Carried.
That report number DS 23-04 entitled zoning bylaw amendment application of James and Doreen McIntyre be received and that the zoning bylaw amendment application number D14 Z19 22 of James and Doreen McIntyre relating to the property located at concession 8 North Part Lot 6 and known municipally as Part Lot 6 Concession 8 11R 6241 Part 2 be approved for the reasons set out in this report.
Mover and seconder? Lewis, Glinsky? Any comments or questions before the vote? All in favor? Carried. Is Counselor Cerna still with us or just? my eye?
here.
Okay. Thank you. We'll adjust the perfect so we can see you again. Thank you. Okay, so we can move to reports of departments as our next item on the agenda. The first report is from our Director of Fire and Emergency Services. Jeff, over to you.
Through you, your worship, this is my 2022 overall report for council to review. Overall, for the 2022 year, mostly everything was along the average lines of year to years for the last 5 years. Going forward into this year, we're looking forward to trying to get some better analytics and data to be able to provide council with some better information. Also like to note today that tomorrow is Gwen Tracy's last day, as you all know, and we'll be starting off with our new hire starting a week from today or a week from tomorrow, Monday, with Amy Baker, and she comes from the county of Elgin. So we're looking forward to the new change and some good time for Gwen to have some time on her own to retire. If council has any questions on the report, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Jeff. Question. So this is the full 2022 report. Any comments or questions? Some of the trends. Councillor Wilson.
Through you, Madam Mayor. I was surprised at the drop in the amount that the fire losses were. It sort of seems the 2 years prior to that, the 2020 and 2021, they were, I guess they were above average, but then the two on each side are down a fair bit. That's I guess the low ones mean you put the fires out faster.
Councillor Wood, Councillor, through your worship, to Councillor Wilson, those fire, that one was the high dollar one, was the large loss farm fires. I think there was 2 in the same year, and they were into the $5 million of loss at one time. So that was the data on those 2 there. The rest are, there are skills with our department, I think, are above board with most, better than most departments, and our dollar saved is shows in the reports there. So there's some big businesses that stay in business because the fires get put out properly. So, yeah.
Any other comments or questions? Councillor Leach.
Through you, your worship, I am very impressed with the response time, and congratulations to our fire services for providing such excellent service to our constituents.
Thank you, Counselor.
Great. Yes, this does confirm, again, we've said it many times, we do have a really strong crew and it's appreciated and the statistics show it. And I will agree that in the future, there is room because we're getting more and more data and there's room now to start pulling some analytics to look at costs and look at, a number of efficiencies and to see how we are using the resources that we have. So I'll look forward to that for next year's report. Thank you for acknowledging that. If there are no further questions, then the resolution.
That report number F 23-01 entitled Malahide Fire and Emergency Services 2022 Year-End Report be received. And that the officers appointed for Malahide Fire Services effective January 1st, 2023 are South Station District Chief Randy Lowen, District Deputy Chief Jason Brown, Captains Joseph Durick Jr., Dylan DeCraker, Randy Hughes, Andy Lamb, Scott Selman, and Harmon Schuerman. North Station District Chief Ryan DeSutter, District Deputy Chief Dave Bradley, Captains Aaron Bradley, Rob DeSutter, Dennis Johnson, Mark Moyer, Rob Lindsay, and Corey Vandenest.
Mover and seconder. Wilson, Widner, all in favor? Carried. Okay, the next report from Director of Public Works, Matt, over to you.
Yes, through your worship, this report is brought back from a council directive regarding follow-up detail for the tender which closed for a single axle plow replacement. So there's some detail included in the staff report regarding how we got here and some recommendations for alternate defined ways to move forward in the future. The staff report does note the one breakdown we've had since the special council meeting inspection. And I'd just like to note that we have had an additional breakdown since then, and the truck is currently out of commission, out for repairs. We're awaiting quotes on the repairs and back in service detail. But other than that, I do have nothing further to add to the report, and I'd be happy to hear any questions council may have.
Thank you, Matt. Questions or comments for Matt? Deputy Mayor Widner.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor, through you to Matt. I guess I was talking to Ryan, I guess it's hydraulic spool that's gone bad and that could happen to anything, I guess, and the way they design them isn't the best and the new one's not gonna be any different, so. You said there was another breakdown with it, or is that just the one with the hydraulics?
Through your worship, yes, there's been two breakdowns. One was a solenoid that caused kind of a complete loss of control of the machine. We did have one that was in stock at a local supplier that it's a relatively inexpensive repair, but the risk remains that if that part wasn't available, the downtime that the vehicle is out for. So there was that repair. And then, yes, recently we've had another one with the hydraulics that it's a flow through design. So the part is no longer made for this unit anymore. So it's a repair of the existing part.
Okay. And worst case scenario, you could probably replace the whole unit with a new modern, or not a modern design, but a more user friendly or able to get parts for design. I guess the one that's on it, their companies don't look after it anymore, but it's the plow that's breaking down, not the truck.
And that's correct. It's the various components. So there was the solenoid that went, and then it was the 8-valve hydraulic piece that went.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Councillor Wilson.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Reading through the report, I guess these prices are only good until like basically a couple more weeks is when they're good till. I know we're not going to turn right around and ask for prices at the beginning of March, but if their prices are only good till mid-February, I don't see why we couldn't put this up for tender again next year if we needed to. I'm not sure what the 2-year delay purpose is. There may be something more to that I don't know about. And the other part was that if there was a limited amount, like a limited number of these trucks in the 2023 year, because of COVID and limited manufacturing of these size units going on, would it not be beneficial to wait and see if once things get back into full production next year, that we might be able to get some better prices on stuff? And unfortunately, this brings up another thing that just ties into this sort of, with the tender prices that we've had lately. This is 50,000 over what we thought it would, what we thought it should be. The prices for the long arm excavator and the drag line, they were more expensive than we thought it should be. That being said, I'm not exactly sure what our procurement bylaws are, what our tendering bylaws are. And if we need to take a look at those, it's maybe something we should be looking at. With, you know, it's hard to go out and tell people, give me prices, but I don't think asking for a price from someone is necessarily favoritism. If you're going out to various, like if there's only 2 people respond with here's prices for trucks, well, there's got to be more than 2 dealerships out there. So how are these, how do you let the people know that you're calling to tender, so we can get more prices than just 2? So it's.
Thank you, Counselor. Comments, either Adam or Matt on the procurement to start?
Through you, your worship, I'll take the first stab. And about the tendering process, municipalities under the Municipal Act are required to go through a very regulated process for tendering to ensure, because although we try to operate like a business, ensure that we're spending taxpayers' dollars as wisely as possible, when we go to procure services or items, equipment or machinery, we do so to make sure that the game is fair for everyone. So what we do, your first point, Councillor Wilson, was about the 1 year, or, you know, canceling this year's tender, maybe doing it next year. There's no sort of established time frame to which we need to wait. But what we do need to acknowledge is the bidders who have submitted on this have spent a lot of time and effort putting together and meeting the requirements under our procurement bylaw and the Municipal Act to put forward the specifications and meet our requirements. So each have done that. If we were to cancel the bid, we would want to make sure that there's a sufficient period of time. Like I said, there's no written rule, but it would need to be a safe amount of time to make sure that we're not sort of looking like we're dissatisfied with these bids. You know, we're going to retender. So if we cancel, we got to let a sufficient period of time go. And that's not because of anything, but because of the Municipal Act and because we're a municipality operating in accordance with legislation. I might leave it there. If anything from the Director of Public Works or even the Director of Finance wants to add to our tender procedures or our procurement policy, if council wishes, they can listen further.
Matt, did you want to add anything?
Through your worship, yeah, I can echo what CIO Adam has mentioned. When it comes to a tender like this one for this type of fleet, there are limited suppliers in the area, especially for a snow plow. For the plows and the attachments, there's one that specs everything around here. So they're a good supplier. They know that they're in the area. It's not necessarily a monopoly, but they're the ones that everybody goes to. So it's the implements. We got two bids on this tender. The snow clearing equipment would be the same product on both of those pieces. So that's where on this procurement, it's very limited in the area for alternate tenders that we do from a wider area. Like Adam has mentioned, yeah, we use the public method that advise a larger for more suppliers and contractors.
And Matt or Adam, I don't know if you can comment on within the rules, are there ways how do you announce, promote, make vendors aware that something is out. So are we fairly proactive so that, because I think I'm hearing that we don't seem to get a lot of interest, whether it's this tender or others. What is our method of disseminating this information?
So through your worship, Public Works undertakes a lot of the township's tenders. So we typically look at the dollar value of what product we're looking at. For a larger purchase like this one, it goes on the Public Bids and Tenders website. So there's the way the website works is there's a number of suppliers and contractors out there that get automatic updates when you register with that site. And then it's a government services site. So everything that gets published, they get an automatic alert. We see the tenders that come in that people bid on doesn't necessarily represent the number of people that picked up the tender documents, looked at them and decided not to bid. The ratio is typically far breadth on how many people pick these things up and actually submit on them. So we do that for larger ones. We also advertise in the Elmer Express when we have a tender available. So the local contractors and suppliers see things. And we also send out specific emails to the locals, to suppliers and contractors to make sure they do recognize that we have a tender available. So we try to reach as much as we can with our contacts and the public procurement available to the government agencies.
Thank you for that. Adam, you want to add?
Yes, through your worship, I might add too, municipalities are subject to the legislation, which I spoke to earlier, and it's very rigorous. So sometimes it could be very possible that because the process is so rigorous to ensure fairness and equity and transparency, some bidders may be too busy to bid. They may be they may be working on other submissions or on projects and might not have the time. So that is one struggle that municipalities have in general, is because we're held to such a high standard with regards to procuring services and goods and items that sometimes it's not worth bidders' time to even submit a bid. So we do struggle with that as well.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? Deputy Mayor Widner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think at the beginning of this process, we were under the impression this truck was going to cost so much. And it really shocked us when we got this bid, plus the possibility of maybe another $40,000 for the emissions charge down the road. So I think that's my take of what happened here. That's why you can't hear me. I need a longer stem. No, you can't. Another option, and I know I've talked to you, Matt, about this, maybe you can get big, heavy pickups like 650 series, and other municipalities use them, especially for, in the suburbs and things like that. So I don't know if that'd be an option. I know they're not as much money. And maybe that would get the price down and do as good a job, because the truck we have now isn't an overly heavy truck, really. It's got small tires and small springs and things like that. But that's my impression. We're priced, well, we thought we could get it for a certain price and it was way out of touch. So I don't see anything wrong with not accepting it because of price, but we have to accept everything the way it comes in. And going back to your point about the tenders, I think they hand a lot of the tenders out for the pickups, but they get very few back. Because in reality, they don't make any money on them. They don't care. And there's lots of customers that'll pay over and above. So anyway, thank you.
Matt, did you wish to comment on the option of using a different piece of equipment?
Yeah, so through your worship, so by not awarding this such tender, like CAO Adam had mentioned, we would want to wait a sufficient time to re-tender for the like replacements, so that we're not in the case of price fishing. But if this contract was canceled, that would be an applicable way to do it by coming up with a new way to move snow that isn't a single axle plow. So that could be looked at by the equipment committee to define how snow is going to move, but it not be with a single axle plow, because then could be in a liability case of price fishing to re-tender for the same piece.
Adam.
Thank you. I've just been kind of mulling things over. I do want to say it's not black and white that we can just cancel this tender opportunity and we're scot-free on the legal side of things. It's really a gray area whenever you cancel a tender. You can say that the tender bids came in over budget and that's why we're canceling, but you can be attacked that our budget wasn't accurately representative of market rates. The lowest bidder wasn't significantly over our stated budget to a point where we're within our right to cancel the tender. So we're kind of in a bit of a gray area. I don't think it's an absolute slam dunk that we can just cancel and come back 2 years later and do it over again. Like Matt mentioned, it's called bid shopping. It's something we can catch a lawsuit for lost profit for that kind of activity. So just thought I'd mention that.
I mean, ultimately, to recap, last fall, I think the fleet committee did meet with staff and I think did agree that we need to move on this. It's not going to get better. So it's a case of pay now or perhaps pay more, even more later. So I think that's been settled and council did approve this purchase last fall. So we were all in favor that yes, we have to move. It is the right piece of equipment. The price was unsettling. It's not what we were expecting. But unfortunately, if we were to look at all the other bids, not just in this municipality, I'm thinking of other equipment or other items that have come through at the county or surrounding municipalities, we're close to 15% difference. It's not that unusual, unfortunately, for all the reasons that have been mentioned. So I'm hoping we have not looked at the full budget yet. And so we don't fully know the impact of this increase, and perhaps with how efficient our staff and creative in terms of finding efficiencies in the budget, it could be that at the end of the day, the impact on the overall budget is not as, as much of a sticker shock than what we're looking at here. So I would, tend to go back to the fact that, we had agreed to do this before. And so there was a good business case, and I don't think anything has changed since. And Adam, do you want to add?
Yeah, so we were financially prepared for a 315 price tag. Came in higher than that, but we weren't accounting for the salvage value of the existing equipment. So when you account for, the $25,000 recovery, the 40,000, it doesn't pan out to have that significant of an impact to the budget at the end of the day.
Deputy Mayor Widner.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. The figures you're talking about, does that include like the possible $40,000 for the emissions upgrade? Because that would make it about 90,000 over. The fact the old truck is probably $25,000 value with 3,000 hours on it and 83,000 kilometers, I just keep it and run it, because to me, that's not very good business, but maybe I'm a cheap farmer and that's part of me talking, but thank you.
Any further questions? Should we consider the resolution?
I have one.
Councillor Cerna.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't know who to direct this to, but what I'm hearing is the problem is not with the truck, it's with the plow parts. And I don't know if you have to replace what's broken with a specific identical thing, or can you not go to somebody else and say, hey, look, this is screwed. Can we do something about it? And I know a lot of these guys, well, Mike was one of them, and Chuck, what's his name? But they can figure something out, make it workable, and it probably works a lot better. So I'm wondering if that couldn't be looked at as well, that, yeah, we need this, the truck's down because of that, but we're waiting for a specific part. And yet we might be able to go to somebody else and the guy could look and say, oh, you don't need all this stuff. Just put this in there and you're good. Is that not a possibility?
Matt, can you comment, please?
Yep, through your worship. So right now, the existing fleet is down for repairs, and it is going to be repaired. We have the procurement on the new piece, should it be awarded, is it's looking like another 2 years before it'll come into service. So we will be keeping the existing fleet in service for at least another 2 years if this is awarded. So we do keep all the fleet in running condition until the replacement timelines come up. We repair things in alternate manners, as Councillor Sinner suggested, to keep things on the road and safe for the employees. So we do keep them running.
Yeah, so this is another good reminder that this is not to be replaced this season. So yeah, perhaps the hours are low, but we still have this winter to go through and we still have next winter to go through before this. So we have to order now. This is a sort of thinking forward. Councillor Wilson.
Through you, Madam Mayor, and sort of going back to what Deputy Mayor Widner said, if you go with a 5500 series or something like that, could that truck not also be used for one of the 3 pickup trucks that we're supposed to be getting? Be a little heavier than a pickup, but it could do more than a pickup. It's like it's just the price is a little still. It's a lot, it's quite a bit more than what was initially figured.
Councillor Lewis.
Through your worship. So after the discussion, seeing the truck, looking at the good report, it was a hard pill to swallow. It was too much money for the truck. We've been told now the truck's not worn out. It's the equipment that's on the truck that's worn out. I understand that part. It's a specialty truck. I get it. The truck has value to it still. I believe what Mark said should be looked at, exercised completely. I hate to say it, but a roads crew came to me and actually said we should keep the truck and use it to go behind the chipper, or in front of the chipper, not behind it. And so I think it would open the door if we proceed tonight, which I would support. It would open the door to using that truck and keeping it and maybe prolonging another truck purchase that we were supposed to look at. And I think we would have to use that tool and say, let's keep this truck around. We might have to postpone another one here, but we're going to use that truck still. And because the truck is good, it's the bolt-on stuff that's no good. And it's not an easy repair, Rick. I don't believe that Chuck's Welding could fix it, to be honest with you. I have to be honest. You'd spend more time trying to fish around and to serve the community, which is what we're supposed to do with this equipment. We're not making good decisions. We're not serving the community. It's out of service. So if we get snow tonight, Springfield, I'd like to see how it looks tomorrow, because I don't believe we have a truck in the fleet that can do what that truck does. So that has to be dealt with. And it's not something that you just wait on and you just put off to the side. So it's going to be 2 years that it has to last. We're going to hope it's going to last 2 years and hope we don't have to put a lot of money in it. The price of a new truck, I don't believe is ever going to come down. There's nothing indicating to me that even when interest rates go up higher, I don't think things are going to come down. I think we're just going to pay more almost across the board. So that's my 2 cents worth.
Ready to consider the resolution then? Go ahead, Allison.
The report number PW 2307 entitled Tender Award Follow-Up Report, RE Single Axle Dump Truck Complete with Winter Control Equipment be received, and that the bid received from Team Truck Centers of London, Ontario in the amount of $358,505 plus applicable taxes for the purchase of 1 new single axle dump truck complete with winter control equipment be accepted, and that staff be directed to prepare terms of reference to establish the Township Equipment Committee as a formal committee of council, and that staff be directed to report on an updated long-term financial plan for all township fleet replacement cycles.
Thank you. Councilor Widner, you wish for a recorded vote?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll remind members of council what for a recorded vote, when you vote, it's only yay or nay. There's no additional commentary allowed.
So Deputy Mayor Widner,
No.
Councillor Leach,
Yes.
Councillor Wilson,
No.
Councillor Cerna,
No.
Councillor Lewis,
Yes.
Councillor Galinsky,
No.
Mayor Jiguer,
Yes.
Defeated.
Motion is defeated. So I'd like, so in this, the full motion that we defeated, there were several parts. And so I'm wondering if council would entertain to, would consider at least the two motions, one to establish the fleet committee in a more formal fashion. So we would have good record keeping of the committee and to direct staff to work on the financial plan for the fleet. Would you be willing to consider those two motions? So we can move forward, I think, and the reason I'm proposing that is I think having the fleet committee, so it looks like we need to move forward with further discussions about this piece of equipment, which I think would be useful to have a proper fleet committee established to proceed with that. So that's why I'm thinking if we can move forward with that, then the other discussions will be conducted in a more formal way. So let's see, do you want to read those two resolutions?
So that staff be directed to prepare terms of reference to establish the Township Equipment Committee as a formal committee of council, and that staff be directed to report on an updated long-term financial plan for all township fleet replacement cycles.
Mover and second.
I'll move that. I'll move it.
Serna, Lewis, all in favor? And that's
Yes.
carried. And that's carried. Thank you. Councillor Glinski.
I did have a question. It really affects that, but it doesn't. And my question is, I always thought that we put a certain amount of money aside every year for the purchase of equipment. Now, wouldn't that be cover the long-term financial plan? And are we not doing that, or are we doing that? Thank you.
Thank you. Adam, did you want to comment? What's the plan on the financial plan?
Yes, so in the summer, we did a policy update on reserves and reserve funds for the township. One of the things we did was consolidate all of our infrastructure and capital reserves. Part of that was a vehicle reserve. So we do through the operating budget, we collect property taxes for the year, and a piece of that goes to our reserves, and then the reserves fund capital as council approves projects. So yes, we do sock away X amount of dollars per year for capital purchases, and we can review that as part of the budget process.
Okay. So we'll move on the agenda. The next item is from the CAO. Adam.
Thank you, Your Worship. So there's currently a posting out for a Director of Development Services. It's a shared position with the municipality of BAM. There's a township policy which requires when the township's recruiting for the CAO or a director that the mayor, the deputy mayor, and a third member of council be appointed to sit on the recruitment committee. I'm asking for an adjustment to this policy, given that we are partnering with our neighboring municipality. So in this case, instead of a third member of council, possibility is asking the municipality of BAM's mayor or a designate, as well as the CAO join with the recruitment committee. So straightforward report, nothing further to add, but able to answer any questions.
Questions or comments? Councillor Wilson?
Just for these types of sharing opportunities, I think that's a bang on to be getting the CAO and the other municipality involved, and that way it's there's no use putting me on the committee without the background knowledge that CAOs have. So
Agreed. So the resolution then? Oh, sorry, Deputy Mayor Whitner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Am I reading this right? But the deputy mayor of BAM isn't part of this? You got the mayor or other member of BAM council at BAM's discretion. I just didn't know why. They're equal size to us. I don't know why. They're close.
Through you, your worship, there's really no reason. I reached out to the municipality of BAM's CAO just to advise, and if council wants to invite the deputy mayor from the municipality of BAM in addition to the mayor, I wouldn't have any objections to that. From a it's if that's in keeping with township's existing policy, I'd have no objection to that.
So would that be your preference then to?
Well, I think it'd make it more fair, wouldn't it? Like, we're gonna have more than them. It's an equal position. I don't know how it typically we have, how many on our committee? We have quite a few anyway. Sometimes it's good to have enough that everybody's got their own point and it's heard. And makes the choices better. I know we've done that before, so seems to work well. We've hired Adam and all these good guys, so we'll keep up the good work.
Fired or hired?
Hired.
No, that's down the road.
So it is your recommendation, then we add the deputy mayor then to the resolution?
Yeah, I'd like to see that. Thank you.
Okay. So Allison, go ahead with the resolution if there are no other comments or questions. Okay.
That report number CIO 23-01 entitled Shared Director of Development Services Recruitment be received, and that council directs the chief administrative officer to formally invite the mayor or designate, deputy mayor, and the CIO of the municipality of BAM to sit with the township's mayor, deputy mayor, CIO, and the HR manager to form the recruitment committee for the hiring of a new director of development services.
Just make sure it's. Sorry, through you, in listening to that, just making sure that it's requesting, formally inviting the BAM mayor and deputy mayor or alternate or alternates. So it doesn't read that we're inviting the mayor or designate as well as the deputy mayor and the CAO. So we're not, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Do you think we need to reread that or?
So what my recommendation would be, Allison, would be to formally invite the mayor, comma, deputy mayor, and then in brackets or designate with a bracket S beside, they may designate one or both, and then the CAO.
Everyone clear on the resolution? Do you want it reread or are you okay? You're okay? Deputy Mayor Whitner.
Just a question. Should we have a designate for Malahide too, in case something happens, one of us can't appear, they have to cancel the whole meeting, but if we had a designate, maybe we continue on.
Sure, that seems wise because it will be difficult already to schedule, coordinate the schedule. So having an alternate is designate is probably a good idea. So same on both sides. Thank you for that. So can I have a mover and seconder then? Whitner, Leach, all in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Okay, the next item is from an esteemed member of County Council. Or is Councilor Wilson, sorry.
Just going through director, finance, treasurer, then clerk, then building, planning, bylaw, then the CAO, going down the agenda. Did we touch building, planning, bylaw, or was that? What's that?
Yes, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Through you, your worship. So Councilor Wilson, those are just placeholders. If there's no reports listed under those positions, then there's no reports to be presented.
Okay,
Yeah.
so, but can we ask questions about that as it's coming down through?
We can keep that under new business,
Okay,
if that's okay.
got it.
Yes. Yeah, so those are the standing items.
Just showing my greenness.
That's it's good. Happy to be learning, learning along with you. So we'll go to then item F is the reports of committees and outside boards. So we do have a request from Councillor Giguère to to Mayor Giguère. If you ever wondered if I talk to myself sometimes, I do. You can see that right there. But kidding aside, as you know, this is an important endeavor for the community the fundraising has started already 2.5 years ago. It's been a little bit challenging with COVID, but I think things are starting to open up again where it is possible to have events and to truly reach out to our community. So I think, and we know that Terrace Lodge is in Malahide. It's near and dear to this community. So I think having good representation from this council would be really, really beneficial. So do I have anyone interested or any nominations? Councillor Leach. Wish to speak?
I would be interested in the position.
That's wonderful news. We'll go with the resolution, see if you can find a mover and seconder.
I'll move it, second it.
We'll need a
I'll even
recorded vote.
third it.
That the correspondence from Elgin County regarding recruitment of members for the Terrace Lodge Redevelopment Fundraising Committee be received, and that council appoint Sarah Leach to the Terrace Lodge Redevelopment Fundraising Committee for the 4-year council term.
Mover and seconder. Deputy
I'll
Mayor
move it.
Whitner and Councillor Cerna.
I'll second it.
Noted. All in favor?
For
Carried.
sure. Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you, Councillor Leach. Welcome aboard. Okay, next we have correspondence. Any comments or questions? I'll note that, I think it's item 11. Is that item 11? Yes, there's the town of Aylmer has completed the environmental assessment study. And I think that's something we need to continue to keep a close eye on. So I'm going to assume that our staff are on top of that and can notify council if there's anything of note.
Noted.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Leach.
I'm happy to see that other municipalities are getting behind and supporting our cannabis issues. That more voices makes it significantly easier to get things done.
Yes, indeed. Nice to see. And we appreciate that support. Let's go with the resolution then.
That the following 11 correspondence items be noted and filed.
Mover and seconder. Lewis and Glinsky, all in favor? Carried. And now other business. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Now that I'm moved along, I'm off track here, but that's all right. I had a call from a ratepayer about some drainage stuff. And some of it were specifics on the size of the drain and whatnot. But some of it was the ramifications of the size of drains that are being put in now. I think in the past it was 1.5 inches for rainfall that would hit. Now it's being designed for 2 inch. The drains keep getting bigger. The prices keep getting more expensive. And if everything's brought up to the 2 inch, let's get rid of all the water right now. The purpose of drainage is to make sure that the farms are, so you can plant your crops. I don't think that anyone expects everything to be bone dry the next day after a big storm. But if everything is super huge, what does Port Bruce get hit with when all these big, huge new drains have no recharge time. And it's all helly whoop down the pipe. I did a niobium exploration job in Nebraska a few years ago. And I was shocked at how much water retention and groundwater recharge and how on top of all of that they are. You know, I don't want to create wetlands where a farmer's field is, but if things sit around for a few days, that's gonna give stuff time to recharge back into the groundwater table, and you're not gonna have places downstream getting hit with all of that water all at once. So it's more of a, not any one thing specific, but more of a drainage in general, and are things being, well, over-engineered. And I don't want to point any fingers at anybody. It's more of a overall big picture view on the whole thing, and not any one thing that's specific. Like, I appreciate the Drainage Act is, you know, it's it's pretty laid out who gets charged what and what percentage of things go where. But I don't think it says anywhere it must be dry tomorrow, because that's a hell of a hit downstream. And it's a hell of a hit on our pocketbooks when everything is bigger, huger, faster. It doesn't help poor Bruce, and it doesn't help our bank.
Yes, through your worship. So you're absolutely correct with looking at the downstream implications of when we do drainage projects. So right now with the drainage management manual, we from a typical standpoint, when we receive a petition and appoint an engineer, they look at 1 inch of rainfall over 24 hours would be the standard practice to be looked at right now. And then alternate considerations might come into play based on what the site is being used for, what portion of the site might receive a higher coefficient of 2 inches, 3 inches, half an inch, depending on what the soil properties are. But looking at the downstream capacity is always looked at as part of the engineering plan. So the standard that would be used right now is 1 inch that our engineers are using. And then things change with the site meeting. That's part of the drainage process. Talk with the landowners and see what's actually happening there. Is 1 inch appropriate for the needs of the area, but also recognizing you can't flood downstream for it, and you want to size the pipe correctly. Some of the drains that we have being worked on right now have lessened. So we're doing the standard 1 inch, and they're being reduced to 3/4 of an inch in 24 hours, just based on talking to the needs of the landowners at the time as well. So that is all taken into account with the engineers that we appoint on our drains right now.
Thank you for that. And I think that will be a good topic also as we continue our ongoing orientation of council. And I think that would be like an overview of, you know, any changes, how are we responding to climate change and, you know, different kinds of storms and downstream impact and all of that. So I think to note a good topic for our next orientation session. So follow up from Councillor Wilson and then go to Deputy Mayor Widner.
Yes, it's one of the things that through the being on the Kettle Creek Conservation Board now, it's looking at what percentage of your land base is wetlands. And I don't think there's a lot of conservation areas that are at what they would like to see. You know, farmers want, if they own the land, they want to be able to make some money off of it. They don't want it going back into flood zone. But you know, big picture, it's just there's more things to think about is all. That's it.
No, that's a fair point. And there are some programs available to help farmers even, you know, use marginal land that's not producing as well and trying to make it a win-win. So yeah, something that we can all get a little bit more educated on will be helpful. Deputy Mayor Widner.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Matt, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but a properly designed drain is supposed to help slow the water down to a certain extent too. Typically, we're getting a lot bigger rains than we have been getting. I know I got a lot of calls last year when we had those big storms where people want bigger drains because this should be out here. It's like flushing the toilet. Well, it doesn't work that way, but the drains are designed to hold it back so it doesn't put the big wash down in lakes and that, but get a lot of complaints about it. I guess some stormwater management, would that help some on some of these drains where they had a catchment area to put it in, let it out slower, but it's a problem. We're getting bigger rains, I think, and that's not helping us at all. So thank you.
Yes, through your worship, those are great points, and those considerations at the site meeting can often be built in by the engineer to the landowner's requests that are paying for them. If there's a portion of, as you know, like when the drains are designed, the users of that land are the ones that are paying for it. So if there's a common desire to implement some stormwater management techniques to it, to slow things down, to dry an area quicker, those can be built in and the cost shared amongst those owners, noting that the final outletting capacity is per the design standard to not have that rush downstream, and which is quite common now with the short duration, high intensity storms that we're seeing that are causing these types of flooding issues.
Councillor Glinski.
Madam Mayor, there's something that I'm not hearing from either the engineers or anyone else, but there should be some consideration given to the type of soil that is being drained, because there are some soils that do not allow you to drain the water that you want to have drained. They seem to hold water. It could be a 6-inch tile underneath it and water standing on top of it. So there's more to consider than just how much water is falling, how big the tiles are. But you should also be looking at the consistency of the soils, because I can give them some good examples. Thank you.
So clearly, I think we're confirming this is a very good topic for having a bit of a workshop and looking at all the factors that need to be considered. Yeah, so good discussion. Thank you. Any other business? Deputy Mayor Widner?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. We just got back from the Roma Convention not too long ago, and Adam and Dominique and I went, and lots of good information. We got some workshops on recycling. Homelessness is a big buzzword up there, and we're maybe a bit immune to that, but there's a lot of places that is a big deal. And the home building is a big topic, very big topic. And maybe again, we're a little insulated from that session too, but something to keep an eye on. And the Indigenous affairs, that's really front and center. We had some very good speakers. So we got to hear maybe a little more on the other side that we don't always hear. So that was very good. And I'll say these two went to every workshop they could. So that was very good. And I went to a lot of them too. There was a lot of good information there if we wanted to do it. And just as a second, I guess there's going to be a county council open house for the budget, I guess. And we got a bit of a surprise that the numbers less than was anticipated, which is a surprise, but it's a good surprise. So I guess that'll be when next.
Yeah, I think it would be good. We will post something. I think, Allison, you've already shared it, but I believe it's Monday evening. And so I truly thank you for noting that, Deputy Mayor, because I think this is a good opportunity to have a community conversation. It's an open house. If you want to come and look at the budget, there are options that the county council is considering. And in terms of what to do with a surplus. And so there's an opportunity for public input, but also to ask questions. Where's the money going? It's as you know, the county is a large budget. And so we're pleased to move forward with that opportunity on Monday evening. And so I would say watch it will be in the paper or right. So we'll follow up, because I think there will be, what I recall discussing, there will be one open house for sure, but also a window of opportunity, a couple of weeks where online you can post comments and you can send in questions. So I think it will be a combination. So what,
February 28th is the meeting.
February 28th? Okay,
No, isn't it?
so we'll confirm, we'll
It's the
confirm
6th, isn't it?
the details.
6th? I think it's the 6th, and I think. it
Well,
probably went from
we'll look it up. We'll look-
3.5 down to 2 point, very low
So,
too.
yeah,
that
so
was
the
nice.
numbers, yep, the numbers are looking good. So
Look some more, we'll find more.
stay tuned. We will post the information, the specific information, and I encourage you, just, you know, if everybody tells two people, tell two people, because often people don't find out at the right time and then say, well, I didn't get a chance to ask questions, or so I think we can each make an effort to let's make sure our constituents know that that is a possibility. Councillor Wilson?
Through you, Madam Mayor. The other night when we had the East Elgin Community Complex Board meeting, they were talking about various upgrades and stuff, and it seems like there is quite a bit of funding through whatever they were talking about. I wondered what would match up with this municipality's stuff and what budgetary needs that we might get looked after.
Thank
Adam?
you. Through your worship to Councillor Wilson, in consultation with Director Sweetland, we have taken a look. There is what the funding is for the energy saving. So at this time, there's nothing that we can see that would fit for that's in our capital replacements or capital plans. But if Councillor Sweetland Director Sweetland, if you have anything to add to firm up that we've looked at that program and there's nothing that we see that can be a match from the Malahide side.
Councillor Wilson, follow up?
One of the things when I was reading through, and I know this is really maybe opening up a can of worms here, but one of the things that I did see that was there, you know, you can get like it's millions of dollars for a water treatment plant. I know the water pipeline that was being proposed coming across is like it's 22 million plus. I don't know what but if there's millions of dollars available for doing a water treatment plant, they didn't call Springfield Death Valley. There's water around Springfield in the ground, not everywhere in Springfield, but there's a lot. And I know those projects aren't in the book, but a few $1 million would go a long ways into a few wells and a much shorter pipeline.
So I don't know if you wanted to add further comments. I know in the past, it seemed, I don't know if our staff get notifications, but certainly I started getting notifications about all the different grants that are available. And so that we find out at the right time, and our staff have been doing a good job of assessing what we can do, what we can go after. And correct me if I'm wrong, that generally also you need a shovel-ready project where environmental studies have been done, like various studies have been done, and then you apply for funding. So I agree that there is funding available now. And I think you'll see that those moving forward with applications were on projects that have been in the works for a little while. So, but my experience also that these are not one-time grants. If you don't apply this year, then like these are programs. So yeah, we'll definitely continue to explore those. Councillor Wilson.
I did see that it was like, I mean, I was surprised at how substantial a timeline there was on it. So I don't think we're, I think there's possibilities. I realize that it's the stuff that shovel ready will get the grants this year. But I think the dates on it were like 8 years out. I'm not sure if it was 10 years out. I don't want to overinflate that, but it was quite a range on stuff, and throwing it out there.
Adam?
If and when there's ever water extensions or new sewer, there's upper level funding is likely going to be required in order to ever make it feasible. So yes, as the mayor has mentioned, those programs are come around often, so it'll be worked into. We'll take advantage of any of those opportunities as they arise and when we have projects ready.
February 6th. From 5:30 to 7:30. Deputy Mayor?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Going back to what Councillor Wilson says, I know some of it was for HVAC units and things like that. Are all our buildings? And I know now the new technology is what, the heat pumps, the electric heat pumps, which are supposed to be so efficient, work so well, and maybe get us off of fossil fuel and things like that. So I don't know if that's something to look at, or we've got quite a few furnaces and things, I imagine, so I don't know, just asking.
Matt?
Yeah, through your worship, those types of projects are included in this this grant opportunity. What we're looking at don't fit right with the program guidelines that are more green initiatives and higher orders, not like for like replacements, more outside the box things that aren't in our current replacement plans for those. So typically with an opportunity like this, a grant comes, we don't create a project that fits the grant. When we have a project, we find the grant that fits the project. So that's what we're looking at when we look for grant opportunities right at this time.
Okay, thank you. Good discussion. Going back to the county consultation and community conversation, it is February 6th. So that's Monday evening from 5:30 to 7:30 at the county administration building. So hopefully we'll see you there with many constituents. Good conversation to have. Okay, if there's nothing else, then I think that.
I have something.
Councillor Cerna.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to take this time, everybody knows I went through a little bit of an ordeal. I don't wish it on anybody, but I came through with flying colors, I think. And I just wanted to say thank you to my colleagues, the staff of Malahide Township, and all the people that reached out when I was there for those 5 days or 6 days, and their thoughts and their prayers and everything. It's so nice when you have to go somewhere to do something and you're scared shitless that this is not going to turn out right. And to know that you're not doing it by yourself, you got an army behind you. And I can't say enough good about everybody and everything. I mean, wonderful people, unbelievable. And I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
And thank you, Councillor Stern. I'm happy to see that you are doing well.
Oh, yeah, I am. And so furthermore to Mark's homelessness thing, I'm sitting here now at the basement of my daughter's home up in Salford. It's my third place in the week I've been out of the hospital. So I just keep getting moved around. So I have no specific place to go yet. So there's homelessness.
You're homeless,
The
right?
best. Yeah.
I mean, joking aside, I will, because I think we're joking. But the challenge, homelessness is very much present in rural areas, and it's even more challenging because it is not visible. And so you're trying to address a challenge that you can't really get, your hands around. So it is definitely, it was definitely a focus of the Roma conference. So it is something that we need to pay attention to. It's here, it's in Malahide, it's everywhere. So we'll be talking more about that. Councillor Wilson.
In that regard, of my friend Sean Doyle, he is working at the Family Central and doing a lot of good work for trying to get people out of those sorts of circumstances. And his methodology is definitely different from other social workers, but he's quite effective. And having many discussions with him about what goes on in Elmer and surrounding area, it's a real eye-opener. And just because we don't see it, it's definitely there. It's a bigger problem than what we would really ever think. So it's anything we can, and Sean is having it's beginning of March, some sort of a banquet and information evening about it. So I'll get some more information and pass it along for everybody. Thank you.
Yes, we're very fortunate. There are definitely some good programs and some good initiatives and amazing people, as Councillor Serna pointed out, in this community. So there is some good work being done. It's a matter of, it's tricky for a municipality to figure out, so what is our role? How can we contribute to the solution? So to be continued, another conversation to be continued for sure. Thank you for all those remarks. Anything else? If not, we'll go with the bylaw.
The bylaw number 23-09 being a confirmatory bylaw be given first, second, and third readings and properly signed and sealed.
Mover and seconder,
I'll move it.
Lewis and Serna, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. And the next resolution?
That the council adjourn its meeting at 8:56 PM to meet again on February 16th, 2023 at 7:30.
Mover and seconder. Widner and Blinsky, all in favor? Carried. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice evening. Drive safely.
Thank you.